والفكرة التانية يقول لك أصل عشان لو بكرة أو بعده أو كمان 10 سنين ظهرت طريقة علاج جديدة للمريض أقدر أشيل له الدعامة ديت ويبتدي يستفيد بطريقة العلاج. طبعا دي خدعة كبيرة جدا جدا جدا، مفيش حاجة اسمها كده. أنا طالما ركبت الدعامة للمريض مستحيل لو شلتها له هيستفيد بأي علاجات سواء دلوقتي أو مستقبليا. النقطة الثانية المهمة اللي بقولها إن يا جماعة المريض لو متركب له الدعامة سليمة، حتى لو ظهرت طريقة علاج جديدة وقلنا له تعالى نشيل لك الدعامة دي وتستفيد بطريقة العلاج الجديدة، هيقول لك لا أنا مبسوط كده. المريض بعد العملية بيخلص من العلاجات، بيخلص من الأدوية. فالمريض اللي معموله له العملية بطريقة سليمة بيكون سعيد جدا جدا بعد العملية، بل بالعكس ندمان على كل الوقت اللي ضيعه في العلاج. والجملة الشهيرة اللي بيجي يقولها المريض بعد العملية: يا دكتور أما أنت عارف كده ما كنا عملنا العملية دي من الأول، إيه لازمته العلاج؟ ده العلاج تعبني، ده العلاج رفع ضغطي، ده العلاج تعب معدتي، ده أنا صرفت مبالغ كبيرة في العلاج، يا ريتني كنت عملت العملية من الأول. فإيه اللي هيخلي مريض مركب دعامة بطريقة سليمة وسعيد ومستمتع إنه يفكر في طريقة علاج جديدة؟ ما أنا مبسوط. فبلاش يا جماعة نسوق الوهم للمرضى. لا هينفع أشيل الدعامة، ولا أن النسيج اللي حافظت عليه ده هيفيد المريض في شيء، ولا ليه أي وظيفة لا في زيادة سمك العضو ولا في المتعة ولا في اللذة. طب أنت بتحافظ عليه ليه؟ وأنا برضو جايب لكم رأي الدكتور آرثر لما ناقشناه في النقطة دي، هتسمعوه برضو وجهة نظره بتقول إيه، عشان تتأكدوا إن دي مش وجهة نظري لوحدي. الراجل اللي انتوا هتشوفوه ده يا جماعة واحد من أكبر أساتذة الذكورة في العالم. الراجل ليه أكتر من 300 بحث في مجال الذكورة، فرأيه لا يستهان به. فده واحد من مئات العلماء اللي أكيد بيتفقوا معاه في نفس الرأي.
Okay, well, certainly I'm delighted to be able to share my thoughts about concern here about how the surgery for implanting a penile prosthesis is done with preservation of cavernosal tissue. There has been an interest, I guess, to do a variety of different techniques always with regard to penile prosthesis surgery, and I'm hearing about the idea of using a smaller sized penile prosthetic cylinder to implant within the corpus cavernosum with the intent to preserve some of the erectile tissue within the penis, while this differs from the more customary approach of using a maximally designed cylinder based on dimensions of the corporal body with penile implant surgery. I certainly applaud the consideration of thinking creatively, thinking about new innovative ways to do things, and exploring whether this might offer a benefit to the patient. So I certainly support all ideas. Although with this particular one, I do have some concern as to whether the preservation of cavernosal tissue may defeat the purpose of the penile prosthetic device, which we'd like to offer to the patient. I think in general, a maximally sized cylinder that produces the best quality erection. If you undersize the cylinder, you may have some potential engorgement within cavernosal tissue, but if that actually results in a smaller erect penis and less rigidity, then I think that trade-off is a compromise that may be less attractive to patients. So my general thought about this is that yes, I support all new ideas, but I think we need to think critically about what it really offers. I'm not sure in my mind that it truly offers a better penile implant result. As far as whether the cavernosal tissue preservation results in better sensation, that is just not so based on my experience and knowledge in the field. I think this sort of outcome really relies on the extent to which the sensory nerves in the penis are preserved. And that's preserved with any sort of implant surgery done well. Now, whether it's done with a standardly maximal size cylinder that can be placed within the corporal bodies or with any sort of undersizing technique, the sensation should not differ. Well, again, I applaud new ideas. I think innovation is the key for us making progress in the field, innovation and discovery. I think we need to be critical, though, about really what are we finding without bias, bring something forward and really study it. Now, maybe there is a thought here that lesser dilation could be advantageous in some way. I'd like to see a critical evaluation of it, not just opinion, rather it should be done in a rigorous way to really establish whether this offers any true benefit to the patient. In general, the technique for penile implant surgery is to place a cylinder that brings the patient the best dimensions of his penis and the best quality of the erection with penile rigidity. Standardly, that involves a cylinder that's a bit more maximal, not undersizing. If that involves some degree of dilation, which has been customary, I think that's consistent with what we know. If there are new techniques to dilate less and see whether you can still get an adequately sized cylinder into the penis and it achieves goals that I think we need to objectively look at, then I support that. But I think it really needs to be studied well. And I'd like to understand whether we can really find the results that support any claims being made, that the right sort of investigations are made to support any sort of claims. Well, you certainly raise a question here about the extent to which the article that's been published to support this sort of surgical approach really is substantial, and whether it's valid enough to proceed. I think any kind of surgical innovation is worthwhile, but I think that perhaps it should be evaluated further. My brief read of the article was that the follow-up was of the patients having had this surgery was very brief. So it'd be good to see whether patients can be further assessed with more long-term follow-up. So simply a prospective evaluation with some additional follow-up, I think, would be a very basic thing to do. At the same time, there could be more assessments about the extent to which it produces the kind of erection effect that patients would want in terms of the size of the penis, the quality of the erection response, the extent of penile rigidity. And I think these kinds of evaluations still need to be done beyond just saying that there's a certain amount of erectile tissue that is not compressed by the penile prosthesis cylinder. So I think there's a couple of different ideas that can be done to reevaluate this or continue to evaluate whether it really meets the satisfaction and other goals of the patient. Well, to the question as to whether the approach here of putting in an undersized cylinder with cavernous tissue preservation leads to better sensation in the penis with sexual activity, I think that remains to be demonstrated. I don't have a sense, based on my experience with the surgery and knowledge of the field, that the extent of cavernous tissue preservation is the dominant factor with regard to sensations in the penis. Really, it's a matter of sensory nerves that are preserved and allowed to be functional. And so the surgery done well without damage to these nerves, whether it's done with a standard cylinder or an undersized cylinder, I think is really what is going to dictate the sensation effect after penile prosthesis surgery. Well, you know, the patient that we saw today and proceeded with the surgery was informative to me. I did not personally interview the patient to understand all of his concerns about his prior surgery, but my examination of the patient suggested that the undersized cylinder did result in a smaller looking penis and a penis that did not appear to have a good quality rigidity to my examination. We were able to proceed ahead to remove the cylinder, the malleable cylinder that is, and replace it with an inflatable device. And I was very pleased with the erection effect with the inflatable penile prosthesis by my direct examination. I hope that we were able to achieve a goal for the patient if he was concerned that his penis seemed to be of a lesser dimension that he had hoped to have with penile implant surgery. If he had concerns regarding penile rigidity, I hope that we were able to achieve a better outcome for him in this regard as well.
فرجاء لما تروح لدكتور يقول لك هعمل لك عمليه، انا الوحيد اللي بعملها اقول له شكرا، اعمل لي العمليه اللي في الكتاب، لان الكتاب ده مش من تاليف بني ادم، ده نتيجه ابحاث اتعملت على مدار عشرات السنين على مئات الالاف من المرضى في كل دول العالم، وقدروا يوصلوا لافضل طريقه ممكنه لاجراء العمليه. وهي زي ما احنا قلنا الكتاب بيقول ايه؟ as large as possible. فيا جماعه هنا مفيش مجال للتجربه، مفيش مجال ان انا اعمل عمليه للمريض وبعد سنه او اتنين اكتشف ان انا غلطان. فيا جماعه حتى لو حضرتك عملت العمليه دلوقتي وحسيت ان هي ناجحه دلوقتي، ممكن على المدى البعيد تكتشف انها مش ناجحه، وبيبقى كده انت ظلمت المريض بتاعك، وساعتها الندم مش هيفيد.